What's going on? My name is Matt Parker and today it is my absolute pleasure to be checking out the new Sterling by Music Man Joe Dart 2 signature bass guitar. But before we get started, please remember to like and subscribe as it really helps me to grow this channel. Right, let's get back to this cool bass. This is the second signature bass for Joe, the first one being the Joe Dart 1, which was a very simplistic Stingray style body with a single volume knob. As we can see, the Joe Dart 2 does deviate from that Stingray shape a little bit. It reintroduces the Music Man Caprice body style, which is more of like an offset jazz style instrument. And you can see it's got these two absolutely massive control knobs here, and they're for these custom individual single core pickups. The body itself is made of soft maple and comes in this satin black finish. And then, as I mentioned, it's got these two kind of like proprietary single core pickups. They've got really wide pole pieces, which is great because it means you've got a load of surface area to pick up that string vibration. So moving to the bridge, we can see it's got a classic kind of like Sterling style bridge. Nothing massively unique about this. It's kind of what we would expect to see on Sterlings. One of the things that I really like is that they've included this washered output jack here, which I just think looks really nice. It's like a really high quality feeling output jack, and I'm really happy that they included that at this price point. So moving to the headstock, you can see it's got this oversized Music Man style headstock. It's got this really meaty string retainer there, which I quite like. And then flipping it over, as in normal Music Man style, you can see it's got a 3+1 headstock design. Now, rumour has it that originally with Ernie Ball Music Man, the headstock was a 3+1 because it was supposed to help with balance and headstock dive. Moving to the neck, we've got a 38mm nut width, which is going to feel really comfortable for you jazz bass players. And the neck profile is quite a comfortable, I would say it's a modern C. It's slightly rounded front to back, but certainly kind of a bit shallower than the 70s jazz basses I've been playing recently. You can see the neck itself is hard maple with a maple fingerboard. It's got 21 frets with black inlays, and this neck features a 9.5-inch radius, which is a slight deviation from Music Man's normal fingerboard radiuses. Before we move on from the neck, we can see it's got the classic heel truss rod adjuster. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I wish this would become the industry standard because it just makes adjusting your truss rod so much easier. Moving to the back of the neck, we can see it's got a really nice 5-bolt-on neck design. It feels really nice, and as you can see, it's really nicely contoured as well. So it's a really comfortable neck joint, feels great in the hand, you're kind of not getting any obstructions, and this cutaway as well is just really comfortable. And because it's a 5-bolt instead of like a 3 or a 4, it's really solid as well. So top marks for me for that one. So one of the really nice things about the Caprice body is it's slightly smaller than what you'd expect from a jazz bass. But because of that, you do get a tiny little bit of neck dive, especially coupled with the fact it's a soft maple body, which isn't always as heavy as, for example, hard maple or ash or something like that. So you do, when you're sat, get a little bit of neck dive. So that's just something to consider. One of the other interesting things about this bass is the lack of tone control. It's a set kind of EQ essentially, which they've voiced specifically for the bass, and then you just control the single chords as per a normal jazz bass. One of the things that I really love about this bass as well, certainly considering the price point, is the fact that Music Man have opted to ship this with some Ernie Ball 2805 flat wounds. It's pretty uncommon these days to find a bass shipping with flats, certainly something kind of a bit more in the jazz bass-esque styling. And I really like this. I love the feeling of flats on a jazz. In fact, I've just put a set of TI flats on my 72 jazz bass. And I just think at this price point, it's really nice. Flat wounds, if you don't know, typically are a bit more expensive, but do last a lot longer. So it's just a really nice kind of feature to include at this price point. Also, using flats helps tame some of the highs from these ceramic single claws, especially considering the fact you don't have a tone control. Right, I know why you're all here. You want to hear this bass in action. So let's get down to some tones. Today I'm running through my Ashdown Rootmaster 500 Evo 3 with compression on full. There we have it, the Joe Dart 2 from Sterling. In true Joe Dart fashion, this continues that minimalist aesthetic that he's been going for with his releases recently, but I think it also looks really cohesive with the black, the white, and then the matching maple board with the black dot markers. I think it all just works really well together. I saw this online and just thought immediately, wow, that looks really cool. Coming in at £382 as well, I can't help but feel like these are a bit of a bargain. They're quite unique within that kind of sub £400 jazz-esque market, certainly with lack of tone, different aesthetic. And I think it's really, really cool. It is worth noting though that that price does not include the postage, which I think is about £200. So, you know, certainly something to consider if you are looking at buying one of these from the States. I've really enjoyed my time with this bass. It's one of those basses that you kind of leave lying around and you end up gravitating towards and picking up because it's such a fun, slightly different thing. And yeah, I think they've done a really good job. Now, in the interest of being fair, there are a couple of little niggles from me which I thought I'd just address. So the first thing from me is the machine head quality. Now, I've seen this come up before with Sterling stuff, but the machine heads probably are the one thing that lets this bass down. If you listen to this, see if you can hear it. They're very tight and they're very notchy. So when they're very tight to tune up, but when you tune back, they've got like a slight slack in them, so they click before they engage. It's something that I'd be looking to upgrade if this was my bass. The second thing is the neck dive. Because it's a smaller body and because you've got quite a lot of hardware up the top, you do unfortunately get a bit of neck dive when you're sitting. Now, because I rest my arm here, it's not too much of an issue, but when I'm trying to do proper technique, which is like floating straight hand and wrist, you do have to kind of hold the neck up with your hands. So again, just something to be mindful of. And finally, the last negative from me is the finish quality. Now, full disclosure, I don't know if this is a prototype bass or not. We got sent it before the production has started. So I don't know if this is final production quality. It may well be a prototype. If that's the case, disregard what I'm saying, as I'm sure the final products might be a bit better. Although it's a satin finish, it does actually have some finish flaws. Now, at this price point, it's really competing with stuff like Classic Vibes in terms of pricing, and they are generally immaculately finished. So this is just something to be mindful of. There's some tooling marks and there's kind of like some paint runs. And again, I don't know if this is a pre-production version or not. So just something to be mindful of. Although there are a couple of niggles with this bass, there are a lot of positives and I want to go through them now. The first is the neck. It feels great. It feels like a Music Man neck. It's got that satin finish. It's got that like Goldilocks profile where it feels really nice in the hand. It's not too fat. It's not too shallow. It'll be comfortable for most people. And if you're coming from like a jazz bass, you're going to really, really like this neck. The second thing is these pickups. Now, aesthetically, I think they look really, really cool, but I also love these really wide pole pieces. In fact, aesthetically, they almost remind me of something like kind of like a 51p bass in that they've got these big fat single coils rather than that like dual pole piece jazz bass pickup that we kind of know from this style of instrument. And I think they are voiced really well. They work perfectly with these flats. They kind of are a really nice coupling where the pickups are tamed slightly by the flat wounds, but you still get tons of output. And I honestly just think these are really, really good for the price. And that leads me on to the third thing. I think aesthetically, this is just a really handsome looking instrument. I love the color combination. I love the fact that it's got these kind of like quirky knobs on it, which feel great. They're really smooth. I really like the hardware they've included. I think that, you know, the combination of this bass together is almost more than some of its parts. It's a cheap, affordable bass, but it plays great and it sounds great. I'd be really, really happy with one of these on my rack. In fact, I might order one. Or Sterling, if you're watching this, I'll gladly take one if you want to send me a demo unit. At the time of this video, there's still a month to go if you want to make a pre-order for one of these. I'm honestly thinking about it. This is in no way sponsored by Sterling or anything like that. I just managed to get my hands on a demo unit before they were released, so I thought I'd make a quick video. As always, I've been Matt Parker. Please remember to like and subscribe as it really helps me grow this channel. And until next time, I'll see you soon.